Have you ever wondered why some women have a magnetic aura that makes it impossible not to turn your gaze toward them, without them uttering a single word or even trying to stand out? The reason is not their appearance, status, or social skills. What they possess is a profound inner strength, a genuine self-confidence. This is not a rehearsed performance of confidence, but one that springs from an awakened interior, from the harmony of mind, body, and spirit. Carl Jung called this the journey back to the authentic, primal self, untainted by society's expectations or wounds. A truly self-confident woman doesn't just know who she is. She believes it deeply. This belief isn't born from external validation. It is the result of an inner journey where she has seen both her light and her shadow and embraced it all. So, what creates this extraordinary confidence? And how do we break free from the facade shaped by external expectations and standards? In today's video, I will show how Jung explained this phenomenon and how you can ignite the process of awakening the goddess within you. Don't look away. We are about to uncover this secret together. The real question is, are you ready to face yourself? Number 1. The well-hidden secret is self-confidence. Do you truly trust yourself? Not when you're wearing a stunning outfit or sharing a photo captioned, "I'm good," but in those moments when no one is watching. No one expects a performance from you, when it's just you and the mirror. The truth is, most of us don't truly trust ourselves. Even if we appear strong, decisive, or even inspiring to others, when the roles we play fade, when night falls and our minds are laid bare, doubts seep in. We doubt our emotions, our choices, even our very existence. Carl Jung once said that modern humanity is facing not a crisis of religion or morality, but an identity crisis, a loss of connection with our true self, our essence. When we lose ourself, the first thing to crumble is that deep trust in our own reliability, the validity of our intuitions, and the sense that the voice within is a guide, not an enemy. If your light comes from an internal source, you can stand firm in a storm. But if that light is controlled from the outside, you lose your way when the waves rise. This is the state of someone who lives without self-trust. Their lights are connected to the approval, praise, or "you should do this" directives from others. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of things going wrong all stem from this. Not because you are weak, but because you have learned to leave the power of self-definition in the hands of others for too long. You become a product of external voices, parents, society, social media. The danger is that we unconsciously repeat this pattern every day. You hesitate to make simple decisions for fear of being wrong. You stay silent when something goes wrong because you're unsure if your feelings are worth voicing. These small actions are moments where you silently break agreements with yourself. Gradually, you develop an unconscious belief that your inner voice isn't important enough to be honored. Jung called this living from the social mask. When your self-trust is stolen, you begin to live according to an image you think others want to see. Therefore, self-confidence is not an empty concept labeled as boss or high value. It is an internal state where you know who you are, and because you do not abandon yourself, you can stand unshaken in the storm. It is like an ancient tree that doesn't need to grow bigger to prove its worth. It only needs deep roots. A confident woman doesn't need to try to impress. Her energy commands respect not because of a loud voice, but because her silence carries weight. Number 2, the distinction. Goddess energy versus wound energy. Within every woman, two types of feminine energy coexist. One nourishes and radiates. The other bleeds silently. One brings you closer to your true self. The other traps you within a defensive mask. Although Carl Jung didn't call them this, his theories on the anima, the shadow, and individuation draw a clear distinction between a woman at peace with her inner world and one driven by her wounds. A woman in her goddess energy is not always soft, obedient, or perfect. On the contrary, she possesses a certain quiet power. It is a deep presence that makes you feel safe in her company. She doesn't compete for attention because she belongs to herself. She can say no without trembling. She can cry without shame and love without losing herself. She has been through the hell of her inner world and returned not with anger, but with understanding. In contrast, a woman living from her wound energy leads a defensive and reactive life. She may appear dazzling or sharp, but inwardly, she is a trembling girl afraid of being abandoned, betrayed, or not chosen. She needs external validation to feel valuable. Deep in her subconscious, she carries a map of love linked to unhealed wounds. Imagine two women entering a party. One glides in like a cool breeze. She doesn't try to attract attention, but you can't take your eyes off her. Her posture says, "I am here." The other is equally beautiful, but somewhat tense. Her eyes scan the room to see who's watching. Her laughter is a bit too loud. One is present. The other is performing. A woman in her goddess energy is in control of the situation. In Jungian terms, she has initiated the individuation process, the reunification of the ego and the self, of light and shadow. She is no longer a victim of archetypes, but someone who lives with them consciously. Conversely, a woman in wound energy is often possessed by unintegrated archetypes, perhaps by her shadow. This causes her to overreact to things she hates in others because they are things she cannot accept within herself. These women often repeat patterns. They love the wrong people, overwork, get hurt easily. But they always blame themselves, thinking they are too weak. The truth, however, is different. They are living not from their self, but from their wounds. No one is born in a goddess state. Everyone has wounds and shadows. The difference lies in your choice. A woman in her goddess energy does not deny her darkness. She embraces it, understands it, and transforms it into power. Number 3. Jungian psychology. On self-confidence. If goddess energy is the state of a woman who has transcended her wounds, then self-confidence is the light reflected from that journey. From Carl Jung's perspective, self-confidence is not the hollow repetition of affirmations, a perfect posture, or a calculated smile. It is the inevitable outcome of a soul that has found its center. It is not hammered in. It is awakened from within. If the ego has not faced its shadow, if the journey of individuation has not begun, and if the subconscious still controls us from behind the curtain, genuine self-confidence cannot exist. Think of a majestic tree. We see its trunk and leaves, but its true vitality lies in its invisible roots. A self-confident woman is like a tree whose roots are deeply embedded in the soil of her soul. These roots represent standing on her own 2 feet, accepting both light and shadow, and the courage to no longer be afraid of herself. That's why she doesn't need to convince others of her worth. She already believes it. Jung noted that true power emerges only when we dare to descend into the depths of our soul, where repressed memories, unnamed complexes, and unaccepted shadows reside. It is this descent that opens the door to the ascent. Real self-confidence lies not in external light, but in the ability to step into the darkness without losing your way. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." This statement contains a fundamental truth. Self-trust comes not from theory, but from repeated behavior. No mystical ritual or positive affirmation is powerful enough without concrete action. Inner trust is built when there is consistency between what you say you will do and what you actually do. When you say, "I'll wake up early tomorrow," and then hit snooze the next day, your subconscious begins to doubt your words. If this process is repeated, it turns into learned unreliability. When you repeatedly fail to keep the promises you make to yourself, your body and mind stop having expectations. Conversely, whenever you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, when you complete a workout, when you don't text someone who makes you feel worthless, you rebuild an inner bond of trust. Therefore, Genuine self-confidence stems not from external approval, but from the certainty that you will not betray yourself. Number 4. The secrets to building self-confidence. If every promise you keep to yourself is a brick, then self-confidence is the inner home built from those bricks. First secret: keep the promises you make to yourself. Keeping promises to yourself is not just about discipline. It creates identity. Every fulfilled promise not only makes you better, but also opens a door connecting your acting ego to your deeper soul, which yearns to live authentically. Where to start? Not with big promises, but with small, consistent actions. Make 3 simple promises to yourself for the next 7 days. They should be small, specific, and measurable. Write these promises on paper and place them somewhere you can see every day. Check them off as you complete each one and feel the "I did what I said I would" sensation inside. This feeling is the signal your nervous system and subconscious record to rebuild inner trust. Second secret: develop your intuition. Once you've built a foundation by keeping your promises, you begin to connect with the source of primal wisdom beneath it all: intuition. Carl Jung believed intuition was one of the 4 basic psychological functions. Intuition does not speak the language of logic. It comes as a gentle breeze, a weight in your chest, or a lightness spreading through your body. Sharpening intuition requires returning to your body. Before making a decision, sit quietly for 3 minutes. Place your hand on your chest. Take a deep breath and ask, "If I choose this, what will it feel like in my chest?" Your body will whisper the answer to you. Third secret: set boundaries to protect your inner trust. To protect your awakening, you need boundaries. Carl Jung framed boundaries not as a social skill but as a spiritual act. When you allow others to repeatedly invade, dismiss, or hurt you, it's not just a matter of weakness. It's a clear sign that your self-worth is shaken, and when boundaries erode, self-confidence collapses. Setting boundaries isn't about confronting others. It's about protecting the inner ground you've worked so hard to build. Number 5. The impact of a self-confident woman. With every step you take to honor and protect yourself, a light grows within you that you might not immediately notice. And when this light touches the gaze of those around you, it triggers something in them. As Carl Jung said, the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. A self-confident woman is like a colorless, odorless catalyst, yet she has the power to purify any space she enters. Not by preaching, but through a state of deep authenticity that inspires others with just a nod of presence. In psychology, this is called emotional regulation via the sympathetic nervous system. A stable and grounded nervous system can create a sense of safety in another simply by being there. A woman whose core is confidence creates a silent, healing space for other women just by living authentically. She inspires without striving, by daring to stand firm in her imperfection, by saying no when her heart feels constrained, by choosing herself over people-pleasing. She sends a message: you can do this too, from a Jungian perspective. Such a woman represents the healer or guide archetype. Not by saving anyone, but by healing herself. If this video has illuminated those quiet doubts within you, those patterns of dependence on external approval, and reminded you that true self-confidence is not a flashy performance, but a deep inner trust built by keeping the promises you make to yourself, I have a small request. In the comment section below, write this powerful sentence to seal your intention to build your own inner authority and trust. The promise I make to myself is my most sacred vow. With this comment, you are sharing with us and others on this path your decision to stop seeking external approval and to start trusting your own inner guidance. Remember, the most magnetic aura radiates not from the brightest clothes or the loudest voice, but from a soul that does not betray itself.